Welcome into King Whale's album review party. Jesus Christ. Jesus
Oh
Christ. We were
man.
just talking about this yesterday, how it was like, we're just patiently waiting for the Kendrick feature. So we'll just go ahead and do Beyonce's new album. Of
Yeah.
course, the day I put that episode out, Kendrick decides to respond.
That's
So
the curse of podcasting. As soon as you put it out, that's when something interesting happens.
that's when the thing that, not that Cowboy Carter wasn't interesting, right? But it's not the Kendrick and Drake beef. So first of all, Kendrick is on one, but let me go ahead and introduce how's everybody doing? Introduce my co-host Ty, and we are here to break down Kendrick's latest song, Euphoria. And it was insane. Oh my God. Like just your initial thoughts, just go ahead. Because I literally just listened to it right before we hopped on.
You can't rap through three beat switches and for 6 minutes straight if you don't actually hate that other person.
Oh my God, yeah.
Kendrick Lamar hates Drake so much.
I've seen so many theories from friends of mine that are like, oh yeah, this is just, it's all fabricated. It's all a media stunt. Kendrick and Drake are gonna announce a tour, in a
Nope.
few coming weeks to like get some more money. And like, I was like, I could see that. Not after today.
Nope.
Not after the stuff that Kendrick went after.
Nope.
No, no way.
I can only foresee a civil war level kind of like everyone's bringing out nukes at this point.
Oh yeah.
Drake is going to be like, okay, I'm getting every feature. This isn't just a diss track. This is a diss album. And Kendrick is going to come back with literally everyone in the world.
And I'm just like, the thing is, it's hard to imagine because it's like, first of all, what rapper wants to go up against Kendrick Lamar right now? Probably not a whole lot. I can't really name them. However, back in 2013, a lot of rappers took shots at Kendrick because of the Control verse. And then he dissed them all by saying they were all trying to get fame because they were all has-beens, because all the ones that dissed him were ones that weren't named. And
Mhm.
so he was like, yeah, y'all just it was like one line, just brah, just got them all in a row. And it was insane. So now I'm like, I don't know which rappers are going to be like, yeah, let me get in that Kendrick beef. Cause like this is scary for Drake.
This is really bad. I mean, obviously, you can tell by our tone, Kendrick absolutely killed it here.
Yeah, I
And
guess, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
And he did it, you know what? He did it without even invoking the whole Drake like quintuple entendre. Like Kendrick is relatively like simple and straightforward, still like very lyrically clever in many ways, but Kendrick is setting aside a lot of metaphor for direct call outs to I hate this about you. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you
Yep.
dress. I hate the way you're not a father. You don't care about your son.
The
You're the
two
corniest rapper.
I'm cooking while I'm listening to this, and my wife is in the other room finishing up work, and she just listens to me go like, "Oh my God." And I like scream and lose it. Because while you said, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you dress, I hate the girls you're with because they confuse themselves with real women. Kendrick just went after all of his exes. Just that just like blew my mind. Like I was like, did you really just say that? Did you just say that? That's crazy. That's crazy. And then this that was the line that made me lose my mind. And then the second one was, how many features do you need before you feel that you're black enough?
Yeah.
And that was just that's those two let me know there's no way this is um a friendly we're gonna start a tour kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
Kendrick didn't just cross the line, he leapt across it. He just erased there is no line for Kendrick anymore. He just obliterated it.
Right.
And
No,
then
he absolutely did. Like he went for a fully unbarred like I don't just hate what you stand for. Like, I don't just hate you and your music. I hate what you're trying to stand for. Like this doesn't just feel as pointed at Drake. This feels like a call out of like, no, no, no. For many reasons, you don't even deserve to be a qualifier for like the greatest rapper right now because you are not a rapper that is speaking to the people that you claim to be rapping for and representing. You do not represent them. You want to go on stage, drop a track called First Person Shooter, think like you think you know what it's like to live
Shoot
in a
somebody in the
violent
hood.
America.
Yeah.
You don't know nothing.
Oh my God. And the way that he called him out for just living in Canada, for growing up in Canada, it's
Hmm.
like just the America versus like he just I love that so much. What was it? And I'll line them up all on a 3 hour time difference. Just
Oh
like
my
this
God.
should not be legal. It
The
should not be legal.
I think this might end up just devolving into our favorite verses from this whole
Lines from this verse.
yeah, favorite lines from each of these verses because there's just so many, but it's not a 20v1, it's a 1v20 if I gotta smack everyone that writes with you. Every single ghostwriter that Drake has used, like it's not really one.
Not
It's not a
really.
it's not a 20v1, it's a 1v20.
Oh my God. And the whole time, like I remember after Drake's diss, I was like, man, I don't know how Kendrick is gonna respond, but I'm really excited for it. But I'm also like, man, I don't know what he's gonna do because Drake hit him pretty hard. He was not worried. That's all I gotta say.
And I really think that as time passes, push-ups and especially Taylor Made is going to fall at the wayside. Like, I don't think either of those tracks have any staying power. I really think Euphoria has like staying power
Really?
outside of this death. Like this track feels like it is much stronger than either of those in like a longevity sense.
Kind of like Nas's Ether. Because the way that, again, most
Mhm.
people kind of say that Jay-Z won that beef, but when you think about Jay-Z and Nas, you think about Nas's Ether track. And that
Mhm.
was like the track, right? And so, I mean, like you said about the if it starts a hip hop civil war, I hope it goes deeper than like East Coast versus West Coast, because that's what it kind of could be, Drake being in Toronto and Kendrick being West Coast. But I hope it just goes into like, nah, we're just all gonna go after each other and just make it so almost disturbingly personal. Like that's what I got from this diss track. Like this was so disturbingly personal. Kendrick was like, I'm gonna hit at everything you've ever like every insecurity I think you have, I'm going to twist. Right. And like people make fun of
Yeah.
Drake for being mixed or like light skinned, not really being black. And Kendrick just completely tore it apart and he completely ripped him for it. And it was glorious. Like I don't even have another word to describe it.
It's so something that I really love. I love that throughout the track, Kendrick is very subtly because he like the line that the verse heard around the world was Kendrick's unlike that kind of kicked all of this off,
Oh yeah.
and it's just big me. That energy is present throughout, like in a lot of like subtle little lines here and there. Like when he's talking about the very first time I shot a or a Drake, I didn't point it down enough. I learned that lesson, signaling that he's far above Drake. He's got to aim down to shoot back at Drake. My favorite, the whole line, keep making me dance, waving my hand, and I won't be no threat. And it works with like the whole like Prince and Michael Jackson motif that they have going on with like Kendrick
Mm-hmm.
being a prince and posturing Drake as like a court jester. Like, yeah, make me dance, make me wave my hand. You're just an entertainer. You're not a rapper. You're here to make me smile and laugh and clap and haha. You don't have what it takes.
And I love, and to me, the phrase where he's talking about there's three goats left, and I seen two of them kissing and hugging on stage because for Drake and Kendrick's tour, and I'm like, I wonder if
Mhm.
J. Cole like made that initial line of like we're the big three, like to try to jumpstart ideas on a tour between the three of them that would
Hmm.
generate a lot of money for them both, I'm sure. And Kendrick's like, no. I feel like that's what makes me realize like this is not a publicity, this is not a tour, this is not a joint album type of like trying to create hype. This is a you guys are not on my level.
Right. 100%. And I think that's even supported because he even has a line where he's talking about how Drake reached out for a collab like before any of this dissing had started, but he had turned him down. It's
Kendrick had
like, so
turned him down.
maybe, yeah, so maybe they were trying to cook something up of like a really big, massive headlining tour or collab.
I wouldn't be surprised because back in the day, Kendrick and J. Cole had a whole album that they were gonna do together. It was like back in 2013 around Born Sitter, his Forbidden Fruit.
Mhm.
First of all, that's never gonna happen now. But
Nope, not dead in the water.
I was super excited for it. But it's like I don't even know who Kendrick would be willing to make an album with because I feel like he just views himself as so much better than every other rapper, even my favorite rapper. Like he views them better than any rapper that has ever walked the earth. The only ones he might not touch are the guys that he referenced as the big ones, Jay-Z, Eminem, and Nas. And Nas hasn't really done anything in a long time.
Hmm.
So yeah, he probably can. I think he only won't touch them because he considers them retired. Like even though they still make music, I think in Kendrick's mind, them under 2000, he's they're retired. I think
Sure.
that's how he views them.
And I think that's like I think there's even something to be said there of how like, how big you can be as an artist like that and how relevant you can stay because at a certain point when you reach that much success, you begin to lose connection to the things that empowered your art to begin with. And it's true for anyone that starts from any degree of a rags to riches esque rise in popularity. There's only so long that you can maintain cultural relevance
Hmm.
while also like accurately representing it. So like Jay-Z and Nas could still probably drop something today and it could still, even if it was great, it would still not necessarily represent
What's going
the,
on
the
right now?
right. And from a framework that is relevant to the people who are listening to that music.
Hmm.
Kendrick just he knows exactly where he is in like the stream of time, and he's like, no, I see this exact perspective. What aren't you guys getting?
And one of the lines I think that separates Kendrick away from Drake the most is this line in this song where he goes, "Let your core audience stomach that, then tell them where you get your abs
Your
from."
abs.
Oh, and it's best because remember what Drake's initial diss to Kendrick was called? It was called
Push-ups.
push-ups. Basically he's like, you're only this, like your core audience. Let them realize that you only came up with that diss because you listened to me. Like
Hmm.
you only were able to. It's just again, it's one of those lines. It's like again, I applaud Drake for his diss on push-ups, dissing Kendrick for the popular features that he did, being like, oh, you act like you don't care about commercial success, but you do. But this is a rap diss right here. And this is
Yeah.
something that I cannot see Drake doing. This is something that Kendrick does.
Yes. Oh my God. Speaking of push-ups, the whole like show us the split, for Kendrick, show us how much you're making. And then his rebuttal of like, I'll double back to that. Show me yours. Aren't you signed to Lil Wayne, who's signed
Signed to
to
Birdman.
Birdman, who's signed to Universal? So what's that? You get a percent of a percent of a percent? Show me that split.
And like Kendrick, and like when you think of Kendrick, like he's signed to Aftermath, which is Dr. Dre. But like Kendrick, when he came up, like Drake came up as part of Young Money Entertainment as kind of like Lil Wayne's protege.
Hmm.
And Kendrick kind of came up like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's protege, but not the same. Like
Hmm.
Lil Wayne used to put Drake on like five different songs on one of his albums. He has an
Hmm.
album where Drake is a guest feature. Like Lil Wayne and Drake used to do features all the time. It
All
was
the
like
time.
this is like my protege. Dre maybe did like one song with Kendrick. Kendrick pretty much came out by himself with his whole TDE crew. Like you can
Hmm.
tell the difference in the way that they came up. So that whole split thing, he really just flipped it back and it's like, you really want to talk
You
about
want to
splits right
talk
now?
about
You
splits?
want to talk about splits?
And that's something that I feel like echoes. It's like, Drake, you're reliant on features. Okay. I don't need features. I don't need to be featured. I'm good just vibing with myself. Like with the whole line of like, you think all I off the allegation of people of Drake's people, OVO, trying to search out and pay money for any kind of like
Yeah.
lethal information for Kendrick. And he's like, you think all I care about is rap? Dude, I'm a father. I gotta wake him up in the morning. I gotta set him right for life. I gotta teach him by example. What are you doing? You don't know nothing about that.
And of course, yeah, exactly. He's like, and I love how he says, "You don't know nothing about God," and it shows because he's like, "You don't know." Basically, he's showing just like the different levels of maturity. Like like again, Drake's always in the tabloids about like, "Oh, who is he dating?" or like, "Oh, he likes this chick or this or that." Kendrick has been married. It feels like since like he came off. Like he's only had one woman his entire life. He has like a condo, and now he's a dad. Like you don't hear about Kendrick's personal life in the story in the
Right.
tabloids, and part of that is like I feel like Kendrick's referencing is like the only reason why you're popping is because you got to keep your personal life all crazy so you can be popping up in the tabloids and stuff. And he's like, I'm successful just because he's like well, when he says sorry, I'm like I have so many ideas so I can't get them out at
There's
the same time.
there's so many.
When he says he describes it well enough when he says you like fame, I don't.
Hmm.
He's like, rap is what I do for a living, but you like the fame part. You like the tabloids. You like the, oh, who is he with? You like the holding hands in public, got caught on a picture. He's like, nah, 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 nah. This is my job, but I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I have been for pretty much since I started rapping. And it's like, when you think about it, like, it's true. We don't talk about Kendrick Lamar unless we're talking about his music.
Yeah.
And that's the way that it was with a lot of respected artists like Anita Baker. Sorry.
Mm.
Beyonce once said this. She was like, with Anita Baker, people didn't talk about her personal life. They talked about her music. Nat King Cole. Back in the day, people just talked about their music when they were like really, really famous. And then as fame like morphed into this thing, now their personal life became all involved in it and everything. And Kendrick's like, that's all stuff that you need. I don't
Right.
need it. You don't know anything about being a just mature and like the way he calls him a boy. Oh,
Yes.
I ain't seen him yet. Like,
I'm looking for the man. I didn't see them yet. Can I bleed him? It's it's so good because Kendrick is really just it's taking the same kind of structure that I think we've been like kind of focusing on, that clash between the entertainer and the financial success versus the more critical success. And Kendrick, we're
mhm.
really seeing Kendrick's side to it, and how like, hey, genuinely, it feels like Kendrick is saying, I have a life outside of this. This diss, I can kill it on a diss, but it's not like my life is this beef right
Got
here.
more important
Okay.
things.
Yeah, but it feels like this really matters to you. Okay? So like, let's do this, from Kendrick's point of view. And that's the best possible, like, number one, I think it's like much more creative than Drake's side of things. It's just much more interesting to listen to on like line by line breakdown, way more interesting.
Hmm.
But then two, like, what better way to posture yourself as like number one and better than just say like, this is all kind of beneath me, man, while also killing it.
Exactly.
Like
Yes.
like
Yes.
there's literally no way that Drake can come in and try to respond that would be anywhere approaching having a lead. Like Kendrick, like if we want to talk about like neck and neck, who's up, it's up here.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh
Kendrick has
yeah.
shot up with this track.
And I think you referenced it perfectly because it's like, and the reason why it works so well is because that's actually how their reality is. Like,
Mhm.
if Kendrick was the one that was dating all these women, always like in the tabloids and stuff, even if he was the more critically successful one, it wouldn't match. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't
Mhm.
match his whole diss thing that he was going on. But
Hmm.
because he's not, because he's like, I'm in it for the art and the craft, not for the fame, and I'm still have enough fame to be successful.
Right.
That's why it all works because he's got a very mature lifestyle. He's literally flexing with his mature lifestyle. Like,
Right.
you don't hear about that. And like, it's such a unique, because most of the time rappers will brag about, like, how many women they've been with and all this. Like, those are very typical brags.
Typical
And
brags. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of rap beefs, like, they would use that, like, and this is so powerful because it's like, Kendrick's like, nah, that's you. That's boy stuff. I'm a man.
Right.
This is how men do it. It feels like
Right.
he's saying, like, the adults are talking now. And
Yes.
it's like, I don't know, like, as the guy in, I it's just so good. It's so good.
And not to project too much, and it's partly why I think this track has more legs than anything Drake has been saying, is because I get the impression when Kendrick is talking to Drake about how like that's how boys play, like you're talking about like all this surface level stuff, you're using the iconography of like this rap culture that you are just so far removed from, you don't know anything about, that it feels like Kendrick, when he's talking to Drake, he's talking about people like Drake at the same time. That kind of that
Hmm.
phony, like you're just using things for aesthetics. I'm dealing with the consequences. Like the things you're talking about when you want to talk, when you want to name a track first person shooter, you want to talk about guns and you want to, but at the same time, you want to start a charity in Toronto about raising like awareness for gun violence. I came up from a place where I actually dealt with gun violence.
Yeah,
What do you
like,
know about gun violence, Drake?
while you
What?
were starring on Degrassi, I was
Yeah,
literally in the hood having my mom sell my Sega Genesis so she could buy more crack. Like,
the only thing Drake knows about gun violence is getting shot in the back in Degrassi and getting paralyzed and being put in a wheelchair.
I
That's the
so
closest
wish
thing he
Kendrick
knows.
referenced that. Oh my
I
God. That
I
would have
know.
been a
He
crazy
he
line.
has that brief bit at the very beginning where he's like, the famous actor we once knew is looking paranoid, but I wish.
If he had
Oh,
went in with that, I would have, yeah. Yeah.
but that's
Gun
just
violence,
why.
this ain't no acting show. But anyway, he had a lot to pull from, obviously.
Oh, 100%. And there's way more. There way more. And even Kendrick, I'm not looking at a specific line, but he says it throughout of like, this is like, I'm keeping this PG. Like I could go much harder. Like I could dig deeper. I want to keep this light, light and breezy. I don't want to dig at you too much here.
I don't know how much harder you can go when you tell someone that they're trying to be too black or that they're not black enough.
Yeah.
That that is hard.
Or a standout, like at the very beginning, the first verse, Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but Fubu had been in your collection. Like again, a call out of like you want to posture yourself as an ally. Uh, but are you though? You wearing racist Tommy Hilfiger outfits? Really?
Really?
Really, Drake?
And so I don't think I'm caught up on the scoop. Like, what is it with Tommy Hilfiger? Was that a big thing that happened? I just must have like missed it or didn't hear about it. Do you know like what the breakdown is of that? Because I was wondering about that line too.
I don't know much specifics. I don't know if it was like a president of Tommy Hilfiger, or I'd have to do more research
Okay.
on it. I just know of like a more general, like a separation of it because of like more general like racist allegations. Again, I don't know specifics as to what they are,
Hmm.
but for us by us, Fubu was like incorporating brands um like that were made to kind of like protest the use of other like high-end brands like a Tommy Hilfiger, that
Okay.
like Drake will wear Tommy, but he's not gonna wear Fubu.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I see what he's saying. Okay. Yeah, apparently he didn't like that the hip hop industry approved of his brand. Oh, that just hits so much harder now. Now that I truly understand what happened there.
Oh. And then some of the, like while we're talking about digs, like some of like quick fire, some of my favorites, the $500,000 line. and a alluding to Drake paying over $500,000 in settlements for a sexual assault case.
That's what like that line went by so like there was so much to unpack. I didn't get a chance to unpack that one. So tell me what you thought about it.
Oh, I thought it was I think I need to I need to unpack it a little bit more just from like the like specifics of how like he's wording it. I don't understand, but that specific line where he's talking about like have you ever paid 500,000 like to an open case is referring to a I believe to a court case that Drake had paid a little over $500,000 in settlement fees to a woman who had come out with sexual assault allegations against Drake that he paid off. Um, Drake apparently sent a cease and desist for like that,
I guess
which
so.
which we learned from like that one part of this track. He's like, "You didn't like that record? I thought you liked it. I like
It's
Back to
so
Back. That's a good
perfect.
one."
And
Um,
so I think I finally understand why Kendrick goes so hard on this too, to like go ahead and critique the women that have been with Drake. Because I guess there was a line on, because I was wondering, because I was like, because Kendrick keeps talking about like, don't tell lies about me and I won't tell truths about you. And I was like,
mhm,
what was Drake talking about that was like a lie on his diss? Besides
mhm.
like even the AI track, I was like, what is he talking about? And I
Right, what's he
realized
lying about?
Drake apparently had a line that we must have either I missed it when we first went over it, or but he has a line where he said, I'll be with bodyguards like Whitney. And Whitney Alford is Kendrick Lamar's wife. Again, we don't hear about
Oh,
her very much because Kendrick keeps all that out of the spotlight. And so I
I
guess
thought I thought he meant Whitney Houston. When I hear Whitney, that's who I
you
think.
think of
Like
Whitney
that's
Houston,
I
yeah,
think of Whitney Houston. I didn't, and but you see, I didn't even know his wife's name was Whitney
because that's what Kendrick
because his
does.
life is private.
And so basically it sounded like he was implying that Whitney cheats on Kendrick. And of
Oh,
course,
that she needs
there's no
bodyguards.
right. I'm with bodyguards like Whitney, which again is like, well, if you're with bodyguards like Whitney and you're implying that Whitney is cheating on Kendrick, or
Mhm.
Drake, are you saying that you're with like that doesn't really
Yeah.
work if you're saying you're with bodyguards the same way that Whitney is if she's cheating on Kendrick with them. But anyway,
Is Drake
that's a
also
side point.
cheating on Kendrick?
With his bodyguards, I
Oh
didn't know
no, is
Drake
Drake
went.
cheating on J. Cole?
I,
I know they be hugging and kissing on stage.
So anyway, I think that's why Kendrick, because I'm like, he sounds really mad. Like, I know he
Yeah.
hates a lot of the stuff, but like it sounds like something like triggered him. And I guess
Hmm.
that's because I think Drake is just like assuming, like, well, Whitney's gotta cheat on him because he is Kendrick, and there's probably a bunch of other guys that want to be with her. And Kendrick, like that line where he says, don't tell no lies about me, and I won't tell no truths about you.
Hmm.
First of all, haunting the way he delivered it.
Such a great.
Second of all,
You a master manipulator and habitual liar. Don't tell no
yep.
lies about me.
And um the instrumental, like when it started, I was hooked. And I knew it had to I kind of like I would have loved if it kind of stayed on like the
If he
chill
st
jazzy vibe,
Yeah.
but I knew he had to turn up at some point. But I was like, if you had like it would have soared past to a whole like to me what you're saying, how this track has staying power, if he had
Mhm.
stayed in that jazzy, chill To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City feel,
Yeah.
it would have soared this to the whole other level. Because
Oh,
it was
okay.
like, it would have been like, I'm gonna diss you on my turf. That's what it would
Mm-hmm.
have felt like. Because he could have used the
I
same
won't need to
flow.
go I would need to go down and go hard
Yeah,
just for dissing you.
yeah, that's what it would have felt like. But anyway, all of that. So I think that's why Kendrick went so hard because it's like, oh, now you're gonna try to start a rumor that my wife has been unfaithful? Mm-mm. Because
Right.
I'm like, that to me, that's why. And of course, he referenced the AI tracks, which again I thought
Yes.
was a mistake by Drake because it was just like kind of giving Kendrick free ammo. But Kendrick
Yeah.
didn't even really use it that much.
He did, but the times he did use it, I really liked the whole, like the brief bit about Tupac made me do some research apparently, because he has that whole line of like Drake bought a ring, um, that I would pay double for, just instead of having a Canadian rapper
Make
make
him turn out
Tupac
his grave.
turn in his grave. Guess how much money Drake had purchased a ring of Tupac's for?
A million.
A little over $1 million.
A million. Oh wow.
And so Kendrick's like, I'll pay 2 million just so you don't ever put disrespect on Tupac's name again.
Yeah. That bothered a lot of people, not just Kendrick. Like Kendrick's definitely never going to hear this, but I just want him to know that you weren't the only one bothered by that. A lot of people
Yeah.
were not feeling the AI thing that Drake was doing.
And something that I've been like I'm chewing on more since, Taylor Made, it's really disrespectful to just rap as like an art form. Something I don't think I articulated then that I've been thinking more of is just like what a slap in the face to like the craft that you claim to represent. And like that's why I partially don't even feel Kendrick, like as much as I would love him to just go even harder based on this one track alone. I don't think he even needs to because it's kind of just like letting Drake trip over himself.
Yep. And I feel like he's able to capitalize on it. And again, to me, it feels like if Drake hadn't done that line, and I don't even know if Drake meant that Kendrick's wife was unfaithful to him or something. I feel like
Mhm.
if Drake hadn't have done that line, Kendrick wouldn't have went as heavy. Like he probably wouldn't have went as heavy on the black stuff and the women that you sleep with stuff. Because that was cutthroat cutthroat. And again, that line only works because Kendrick is not a guy that you hear about all these women that he slept with. Like if Kendrick
Mhm.
was like, Rick Ross or someone else who's known for sleeping with a bunch of women, that line doesn't really work. But because he's literally saying, I have a real woman, you don't know what that's like. It's just, it's mind boggling
Oh,
because,
is that what you take it as? See, I had a different interpretation of that line.
oh, go ahead. Let me hear it, dog.
Oh, okay. So this is interesting then, because I think this is something we have different takes on. See, when I hear that, I thought he was making more of a call at like you're dating underage girls who don't like they're not even women yet. They're still girls. You don't
Yes.
know, they don't know what a real woman is because like they're like 16, 17, Aubrey.
Aubrey. Yeah. And
Aubrey Graham.
I think it's twofold, right? Because it's
Okay.
like Kendrick is saying you don't have basically he's saying you don't even have the emotional maturity to be with a real woman for a long period of time, like I obviously have and have a son in a very successful relationship with. Like even if you
Hmm.
were, it feels like he was saying even if you met one, you wouldn't be able to hold on to her because
Hmm.
like you said, like confuse themselves with real women. And Drake has
Hmm.
never been in. It's like you don't hear rappers like bragging about that. And that's part of what I love. Like Kendrick is literally bragging that he's in a successful married relationship and he's a husband and a father.
Hmm.
Rappers don't do that. That's not what they do usually. And
Hmm.
the way he does it is such like, and it doesn't come off as corny or cheesy. It just
Hmm.
comes off as this is what men do. And clearly that's not what you are.
Right. You got to grow up. Quit being a boy, be a man.
This feels
Like,
like a huge grow up. And again, if Kendrick had, if Kendrick, if you heard about like all these, like if Kendrick was like Nick Cannon, right, where like they're always making fun of how many kids he has with all these baby mamas, it wouldn't work. But
right.
because, but because Kendrick is not like that, he has a stable family home. His kids know their mother. They see them both. You know what I mean? Like it works. And again, it's partly because he's using his own life to throw a diss out there, but
Right.
I it's awesome. And the more I talk about it, the more I like it, and the more I'm like, I think Drake definitely has to respond, but I don't know how he's going to. I
Yeah.
really don't.
And I think like there's no even good time for him to respond. Like if he responds like tonight or tomorrow,
Hmm.
I think it would feel rushed. It
Oh
would
yeah.
feel like too quick on the draw. But if he takes too much time, like I don't think there's a perfect window where Drake can respond and be like, "No, you got it." Like
And
this
the
is so killer that I one way or the other Drake is down. Like he's got to
He's done.
punch up so hard. But even then, I think like Kendrick will then just like use that momentum against him. You know, it's like he's not throwing punches, he's just like shifting. Like he's just moving his body out the way, letting Drake fumble his
And because
posture.
Drake was the one that was like, "Hey man, you got to respond. We got to do this beef." Now
Mhm.
Drake has to respond. There's no way
Yes.
he can't.
Yes.
And Kendrick doesn't have to do a beef, doesn't have to do a, "Hey man, where's your response?" Kendrick's just going to go back to taking care of his wife and his son, like he said in the song. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Oh my God, that's such a good point because all of this like time, like the way he wrote that verse is just like, okay, yeah, take as long as you want, dude. I got family responsibilities.
yeah,
Can we
I
do
got a
next
son to
month
raise.
maybe? Like I got things I gotta do.
It's just, it's brilliant. It's truly, I mean, like I said, I was on Drake's side. I mean, I won't even say like I was on his side, but I was like acknowledging, like, wow, this is a good diss, and I do
He
kind
put
of
out
need Kendrick to respond. I need Kendrick to say something. He said way more than I thought he was going to.
he said something.
He said something.
And so yeah, now TaylorMade is completely irrelevant. It's like it retroactively went back in time and erased that track from like any of its bite, any of anything it was trying to say. It's completely gone now.
Because when we
And so
first heard it, we were like, oh yeah, this is, I mean, the AI thing we weren't really vibing with, but we were like, oh yeah, I see how
no,
Drake's like, come
like
on, like,
okay, I see maybe the angle you're trying to go here, but we'll see.
yep. So yeah, I
It's
mean,
it's too
again,
good.
for too good. For anyone listening, please let us know your thoughts below. Did you enjoy
Yes,
this Kendrick diss? Do you think, who do you think is winning? I feel like we've already like
I think we
decided
made our
Kendrick is
stance
winning.
clear.
Yeah, but again, if you disagree, if you think it was whack or whatever your thoughts are, we want to know what they are. So drop them in the comments below, and I guess we'll just wait to see if Drake can respond, if he even can.
I'm not sure he can.
Ugh. I doubt we're going to be doing a Drake response next week. So until next time,
No,
guys, thank you for joining us.
take care.